Welcome to the Vernon Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Vernon. G, welcome back, man. Glad to have you back. How you been, dude?
Been good, man. How you making out, bro? Glad to be back.
I'm chilling. We got some transfer portal news. We got a couple of storylines we're going to talk about. We got Sharon Moore with Michigan and some self-imposed, I'm not going to say sanctions, but just a couple of vacation weeks that he's going to take. We'll talk about next year's NFL draft, some odds that I want to break down, the top 5 NFL prospects potentially for LSU next season. But all in all, transfer portal, G, it's been booming. LSU's got the number one portal class. I got a graphic here that I'm going to pop up for everybody. If you look at the top 100 transfers, LSU is tied with two other teams for signing 7. They're tied with Miami, Texas Tech. And take a look at this list. You're signing more high caliber transfers than people like Ole Miss, A&M, Bama. G, looks like the Tigers are the talk of the portal. What's been your reaction? And talk about this AJ Halsey pick.
Money talk, bullshit walks. So, Brian Kelly talked about if they wanted to put the best players on the field and have the best, you know, uh program or one of the best programs in the country, they're gonna have to go out there and spend money. And that's what they've been doing. Uh, the pickup of AJ Halsey, I thought that was a definitely a good pickup of need. After spring ball, you could tell that the experiment of Toviano going back there, which I think he's going to be able to bring some depth to that safety room. But you can tell that the coaching staff is just not all the way confident in going into week one with Toviano back there at safety. So, I think that was a good pickup of AJ Halsey. What he did at Houston, I think he started 3 years, played over 2,100 snaps, got 18 PBUs and I think 7 interceptions. So he's coming in with a ton of production. And I think that Coach Olsen, the safeties coach, is going to be glad to have somebody, with some veteran experience back there and also a playmaker. So, and then the kid Bernard Gooden that they got from South Florida. I know a lot of people think he coming in as a depth piece, but I think this dude gonna come in and be a starter. I think he's gonna push Dominic McKinley at that D tackle spot, and I could see him starting week one. Man, this dude had 27 quarterback hurries, so he's gonna get a lot of disruption from the middle of that defense, and that's gonna open things up for Patrick Payton and Pyburn on the edges, and I think it's gonna make this LSU defense really really good next year. So those two pickups in the portal these last couple of weeks have been very, very pivotal for LSU, man, going into to the season, bro.
Especially after getting those 17 additions to the winter part. If LSU came through the spring window and didn't sign anybody, I feel like you still are one of the top classes, top 3, top 5. But then you address 2 areas that I feel like were, quite frankly, not necessarily your thinnest areas, but areas where you could benefit from another
hmm
addition. The thing I kind of noted in the defensive tackle area, we saw Sadir Mitchell go down, and it wasn't nothing serious, but it's just those type of moments. Always, you got to keep that in the back of your head. This is a
hmm
position group that I feel like LSU needs to kind of up the ante in a little bit. You were talking about the pressure or the lack of it there for last season, and how all in all, a better defensive line can make the entire defense better. Obviously, secondary, whatnot, all these different additions. But in AJ Halsey's instance, do you think, let's say he gets implemented into that starting safety spot, does Toviano get plugged and played in other areas? Are they going to keep him there? What do you think is the best method for that side of it?
I think this is gonna really come down to what happens with Jordan Gilbert too. He didn't even do spring because he was out. I think with a shoulder injury or
Mm-hmm.
was it a knee? I can't remember exactly what Jordan Gilbert hurt, but Jordan Gilbert has been injury prone since going back to his days at Texas A&M. So uh, I'm just I'm curious to see how they gonna use this safety room. Is Cooley gonna play nickel or is he gonna play one of the safety positions? And I think the ideal lineup for him in that secondary would be uh Cooley and AJ Halsey at safety, and you move Ashton Stamps to the nickel. And then you're not at the outside corner, you got Mansour Delane and Jaheim Jackson. I think that is the ideal rotation back then in that secondary, in my opinion.
And do you think that there's a opportunity for DJ Pickett to even see the field, or is it going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more experience to get under his belt?
DJ Pickett will play a lot of snaps. He will be one of the first DBs to come on the field when they rotating somebody in. So you best believe you're gonna see him out there, and he's gonna be one of those guys that they're gonna have to depend on. Especially when you get in SEC play. Because you gotta have that depth back then in the secondary.
And kind of just building off of the initial point you made, money talks, bullshit. Hits the bricks and walks, right? LSU's in a spot where I feel like this is new territory. They're competing with just about any school, whether it be Miami, whether it be Ole Miss, and they're winning these battles in the end. How confident are you after seeing these last two additions, Bernard Good and AJ Halsey, and then just seeing LSU have the number one class and then a stat like this, 7 top 100 transfers? Seems like now they've kind of figured out this NIL realm. What's that confidence level looking like after this?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man, and I don't mean to put too much pressure on my guy Blake Baker, but uh, on paper, LSU's defense is top five in the country, in my opinion. Now you still got to put it together. You got to get guys, understanding his scheme and being on one page and making sure somebody like uh, Mansour Delaney, these transfers, you know, they understanding exactly what Blake wants on in certain packages. That's what it's gonna come down to. Like far as the talent is there, bro. You know, they got the edge rushers, they got the guys in the middle, you got the length in the secondary and the athleticism. And then I think this takes a lot of pressure off Harold Perkins coming back. So now he doesn't have to be looked at as the savior. God, he has to be the guy that makes all the plays week in and week out. He can kind of just come back and kind of, get back, implement into things and figuring out how Blake exactly wants to use him. And you got a whole bunch of other guys on this defense gonna be able to make plays. So in my mind, bro, top five talent in the country on that defense. They just got to put it all together. So there's gonna be a critical 3 months with Blake. Getting these guys in the film room, getting mental reps, and then when fall camp rolls around in August, man, just getting all these guys to fly around and be disciplined and be able to just go off instincts and not have to think out there. If they're doing that, bro, top five defense in the country.
Yeah, it feels like you're at this point finally where everything's balanced. I mean, recent years you could kind of point to an area where LSU's defense was lacking, or like, all right, I can see a little issues here in this spot. Right now, whether you look at D line, whether you look at edge, the linebacker group, safeties, corners, you got a lot of names and a lot of pieces that you could look towards. You're not just confined to who you got and this is your lineup. You can plug and play and tweak some things, and there's a lot of new phases to be able to look at in terms of getting new production or just helping, bring LSU to that next level. Through this class, through the signings, the number one class, all this stuff, who do you think is going to make the biggest impact, G? What transfers are you looking towards? Like, all right, this is the guy.
Man, so many. I will say this though. I think the only hole that the LSU defense is going to have is at that Mike linebacker position. I know they're supposed to put Wes Weeks there, and I think Wes Weeks is a solid player. I think Devon Keys, who got some time last year, is a solid player. I just don't know if that's the standard of the SEC that you want at the middle at that Mike linebacker spot. All right. And it might work. It might work, but I think in my opinion, I thought that was a position they was gonna try to go after in the portal and try to go get a Mike linebacker. And I don't know if Blake plans on using his defense, which is two linebackers, which is Wait and Perk out there together. I don't know, but I know he's gonna have some packages where he have three linebacker looks. And so uh I anticipate that's gonna be, Wes Weeks and Devon Keys, one of the two. So but for the who I think will have the most impact next year, man, it's hard to see. I'm gonna go on defense first. I'm gonna say Mansour Delane.
Yeah.
I think Mansour Delane has a chance to be one of the best pickups in this offseason out that portal. This dude was on a lot of people draft boards to go, second or third round. So I think after a year under um uh I'm having a blank, man. The DB coach, Tory Raymond. Damn, my bad, C. Rick. Uh, a year under C. Rick, man, and getting him to understand the technical part and getting him to be a little more disciplined. I could see Mansour Delane, just having the most impact out of everybody on that defense and on offense, man. I mean, I gotta go with Ball Sharp. I
Yeah.
gotta go with Ball Sharp, dog. I think this dude solidified himself in spring. You could see him and Nuzma has a chemistry. You could tell they hang with each other off the field. And
Hmm.
so he gonna be somebody that's gonna bring value to that room, not just because he's a good football player, but for somebody like Trey Green. right? He's going to be able to bring Trey Green up with him, and that's going to be a hell of a two-headed monster in that tight end room. So on offense, I'm gonna go a ball sharp, and on defense, I'm gonna go a man. So Delane is uh the two most impact players that's coming out that portal.
Yeah, I like the Bar Sharp one, especially because LSU is in a spot where not a lot of people realized it because of how good Trades was, but they needed some more tight end depth. You lose Mack, you lose Kamorian, and now you need somebody that fits that hybrid role, can touch a little bit, block, release, maybe catch some passes. And then, like you're saying, with the connection with Nussmeier, it definitely looks inseparable already. And we've been through 2 months of camp through this period. I'm going to go in another kind of direction on offense. I'm going to go Barry and Brown because I feel like with what I initially expected, his arrival at LSU, I'm not saying it was just a limited role, but I didn't think he could make his case as one of the speedy vertical threats like a Chris Hilton. I feel like you could honestly look towards number 6 getting down the field, getting some big time action next season. Defense, yeah, Mansour Delane's probably the best transfer in the entire class because initially, I mean, you were talking about the versatility and how you can put him in a variety of different situations. If LSU didn't scratch that safety itch, they were going to be able to maybe roll him out there or maybe be able to do some other creative flexes just by having all the depth. I'm going to swing and go Jack Pyburn, though, as my big defensive transfer, right? You lose Braden Swinson. You lose Savion Jones. 2 big pieces off the edge that might make that defensive pressure a little confusing next season. It might make some like Coach Peoples and Blake Baker go back to the drawing board and just kind of scratch their head a little bit. But bringing in somebody like this, SEC experience, already shows the physicality. I think he could be one of your biggest additions as well on the inside. And if you get that inside presence, if you get quarterbacks running around in the SEC, and nobody trying to play LSUG, ain't nobody trying to go face that front. And then you got Kyle Williams being a Mad Hatter on the inside with all the pieces that he's got. I've liked what I've seen so far. I like your picks though. Bar Sharp, Mansour. I'm digging it. I got Barry and Jack Pyburn, but hey, they got a lot of names. That's the beauty of having a number 1 portal class. You could just pick and pull damn near anybody.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no reason in the world why they shouldn't be in a 12-team playoff.
None.
I think it's safe to say if they're not a 12-team playoff, barring they don't have any major injuries, they're gonna have a lot of disappointed and upset LSU Tiger fans.
Especially after the way that you were able to hit the portal. Because you always had that as your Achilles heel or your crutch. It's just the lack of NIL or this or that. Hey, you addressed it this offseason. You put yourself in a position to be the number 1 portal class. I mean, yeah, they got some teams like Ole Miss bringing in like 30 recruits and you got an 18, but hey, it's quality over quantity, at least in my opinion. You got to take the guys that are the top prospects. That's just me, though.
And then in the depth that they're gonna have on defense, bro. Think about it. You got Pyburn behind him. You got Gabe Rutherford, who everybody high on. So you got Dominic McKinley, or you got Bernard Gooden, who they just brought in. You got Jacobian Guillory. You got Ahmad Bro. You got at the other edge, you got Patrick Payton, Jamari Butler. Like they got depth, bro. And then that corner, you got Mansour Delane, you got DJ Pickett, you got Ashley Stamps, Micah Turner, like PJ Woodland.
Yeah, don't forget about PJ.
You know, they got a ton of depth, you know, on defense. And so that's gonna be able to keep guys fresh and be able to move guys around and Blake gonna have some fun playing with these toys. I'm telling you that now. He gonna have some fun. And it's gonna keep offenses all balanced when they're trying to game plan for Blake's defense. He's gonna have a lot of versatility. He's gonna have a lot of guys he could plug and play and move around. So I can't wait to see it, bro. This like I say, it's a top 5 defense on paper when you look at it. So they just gotta put it together, man.
And LSU needed to be in this situation. LSU needed to have their defense get this hype and this excitement, the moxie back, because that's been that one area that all the fans have been pointing towards. Like, hey, what's going on? I mean, if you had a defense like this 2 years ago, I don't think you just make the playoffs. You probably run the damn table and win the whole thing. LSU has been this close. People don't realize that. There's only a couple of pieces missing. I mean, yeah, the record, the 9-10 wins and all, you're not where you want to be. There's a couple of things you can look toward, though. The injuries. Maybe one extra W in the season opening. They're right there a couple of times. Just could be the icing on the cake. Let's talk about the spring game. What you've seen through that. Anything that stood out? Any new players? I know I saw your notes talking about Harlan Berry and Juwan Johnson. Just kind of enlighten us on that, what you've seen, and what do you think that brings for Joe Sloan and that offense and making that run game more creative?
I really was impressed with Harlem Berry. His burst to be able to turn a corner and pull away from defenders. You could tell he added on some weight. So I think he's going to be in position for next season, man, to be that third back behind Caleb Jackson and behind Caden Durham. And I can see Harlem Berry next year having a couple games where, he makes a real impact to determine if the team wins the game or not. Especially with his versatility, man. I know they have plans to be able to use him and throwing the ball at the backfield and motion him to the slot. How much of that they're going to put on him in year one as a freshman, I don't know, but he's very capable, and I think Joe Sloan and Coach Kelly are very excited about what he's going to be able to do. Barry and Brown for sure showed that he's an explosive playmaker, and he's going to be somebody that can hit you vertically. He can catch an out route or a curl, and if he can make somebody miss and take it 80. So he's gonna be an explosive playmaker, man. And of course, ball sharp, man. The contested catches with guys draped all over him, just the toughness that he bring. I was very, very impressed with him all throughout the spring and in that spring game, man. So it's kind of hard to tell how good the old line was gonna be, though. It's because they they kind of going 70, 80% in the trenches. So, that was kind of hard to tell. But uh I like the way Colin Bill y'all finished the game off with the ball hit at the back of the end zone, and I think that's big for his confidence. Going into his second year as a redshirt freshman. I thought Aaron looked at a little rusty in the spring game, but hey, we know what he can do. So, we're not too much worried about that. But and somebody like Nick Anderson, man, I know he been nicked up all throughout spring. He gonna be key going into this fall camp and into the season, man, to make sure they keep him healthy because he's gonna play a vital role into how many weapons Nuss has to play with this season. So, and then you talk about somebody like Trey Green, who is just a freak of nature, and he's gonna be a mismatch nightmare. And I think they're gonna be able to use him not only at tight end, but they're gonna be able to split him out, you know, um, outside of the X receiver sometime, especially when they get in that red zone area. And you saw that all through our spring. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see, how it's gonna all unfold. Like I say, this is the best roster that Coach Kelly has had since he's been there. And so it's gonna be a lot of pressure on him in year four. And if this team is not in that 12 team playoff and doesn't at least sniff, at least get into the semifinals, uh, I think Scott Woodward and Coach Kelly gonna have some tough conversations if that don't happen.
I think so too, especially with the way things are looking now. It feels like there's not a lot of things left that are preventing them from getting to that point. Uh, just build more off the spring game. Another person I saw that I feel like wasn't getting enough flowers, Kyle Parker, because he last year obviously got hurt, wasn't able to compete for the rest of the season. But when
Hmm.
he was through last spring and last fall, I feel like he would have been a nice piece to throw in the mix as well. Saw him get a couple of breakaway passes. Building off that offensive line point, yeah, that's probably my biggest area of concern. Not only because you lose four of your starters from last season, but just the overall like uncertainty that you get from it. As of right now, you don't see really any transfers in that lineup, so I'm sure that could be plugged and played throughout the entirety of fall camp. That's the last unit really that I need to get the confidence in because without an offensive line, that offense is going to be struggling. It's going to be tough, and you got a lot of hype in terms of Nussmeier and all these weapons that you got around him, but he does need some protection because if not, he gonna be running for his life.
Yep.
Let's talk about this NFL draft next season. We're getting a little early, G, but I wanted to go ahead and check out some odds, check out some things. I found something interesting. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier, third best, number one pick odds. G, let me go ahead and break this down. So Arch Manning has number one plus 225. Drew Aller from Penn State plus 275. Garrett Nussmeier plus 500. Now, I know more often than not, to project the number one pick, it don't work out. Because last year at this time, for this class, the odds were in this order: Shador, Carson Beck, and Quinn Irish. Obviously, Carson Beck will be slinging pig in Miami. Shador slid to fifth round. Quinn to the seventh round. So it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it's way off, like in that instance. But the overall direction that this season could potentially go, and I think Nussmeier would have the best chance. He has the highest ceiling. The quarterback value in the NFL is off the charts. It's hard to see anybody else going ahead of him. However, one person I think could potentially make some noise is Harold Perkins. I think he's got the capability to be the best defensive player in the draft. Everybody's been talking about his potential. And then you got some critics just wondering about how LSU's using him. And I think this season you could see the most out of Harold Perkins. You were talking about taking the pressure off of him and not having him have to do everything. That's going to be key. Yeah, you need to see him come back from that injury, but I got no doubt in my mind that he's going to be able to do it. So I would put Nussmeier, Harold Perkins, and then this is where it gets interesting. My list is going to kind of take a little shake. I got Whit Weeks because I feel like this can go either way. LSU could convince him to stay. He is going to have a similar situation as Perk coming off of an injury. Hopefully, he's able to not skip a beat, but he's going to need a hell of a season to be able to kind of make that stock valuation. I feel like more realistic. Probably a top pick is the realistic take, but I got some optimism for him. Let's go more on the offensive side. I saw someone earlier in the chat say something about Aaron Anderson. Isaiah said, nobody's talking about all the great wide receivers. Nobody's talking about Aaron Anderson. Nobody's raving about him. I'm going to go ahead and give him some credit. Speedy, sharp route runner. And I don't think the size matters. Everybody's talking about the size. I don't think it matters. We're comparing him to Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers. They got a lot of roles in the NFL now for short, speedy guys. You can line them up in the backfield. You can get real creative with them. I think Aaron Anderson could be one of the top wide receivers selected off the board in the draft in its entirety. But Chris Hilton also is going to make a good case as well. He's been injury prone. Last year we thought would be his breakout year. You saw what he was able to do toward the end of the season. So it's going to be a fight between them, Chris and Aaron. But I think that everybody I just mentioned does have the potential for a first round. The most probable guys, in my opinion, Nussmeier and Harold Perkins. Take it away, G. What's your list? How's it looking?
I was torn when we was talking about this topic and who I think could be first round picks off this team for in next year's draft. And I'm gonna go with Gary Nussmeier for sure. I think, if we going off the history of how the quarterback's been doing in year 2 as a starter at LSU, you gotta say he's gonna be a first round pick. So I'm gonna go with Gary Nussmeier there. I'm going with Bauer Sharp, man. I think Bauer Sharp solidifies itself as a first round pick. I think he's that good. Just watching him throughout spring, this guy is tough. He got the size. He can come down with the contested catches. He blocks. He has a mindset about himself. So I think you see this dude solidify himself for sure as a first round pick next year. Mansour Delane, he's one of my favorite players on this team. Has the measurables, has the experience, and like I say, he was, projected to go second or third round if he'd have came out this year. So I think the whole reason why he came back and then came to the SEC was to show people, look, I am a first round pick. And I think Corey Raymond's going to do a great job of giving him them small, intricate details to take his game to another level at that cornerback position. So that's somebody I for sure thinks has a chance to be a first round pick. And my last one, man, I got to go with my guy, Aaron Anderson, man. It's a great time to be small. I think he's going to test off the choice next year. 38, 39-inch vertical. His broad jump going to be something crazy. His 40 going to probably be a 4.3, 4.4, low 4.4 at worst. He's going to do a great job in draw work, and I think he's going to put some great film out this season. He's going to be that guy that when LSU needs a big time play, they're going to go see one, man. They're going to go see him, and you saw flashes of it like this past season. So I think that gave Aaron all the confidence in the world to be able to show that I am like that. I am the one that's gonna carry the tradition on as wide receiver you. And so I think that Aaron is gonna be, a close or if not 1,000-yard receiver this year. That's gonna put him in position to be a first round pick. And we live in a trendy world. You know how the NFL is. They won't get the next one that's coming out the factory. And I see Aaron Anderson being it.
I agree. Especially what you saw last season. Stepping right up, someone going down, he taking the opportunity and running with it. I like the list. Hey, NFLSU is going to keep going up. Before we get you out of here, G, I want to talk about this real quick. I don't want to pull no heartstrings. We're going to talk about your Michigan boys, all right? So, Sharon Moore. This is. Let me give you the rundown, guys. It's still regarding the sign-stealing drama with Connor Stallions from last year. Apparently, allegedly, the head coach deleted 52 text messages, which obviously is a violation because they need to investigate all the messages. So, here is the fallout. He's choosing 2 weeks to suspend. It's a self-imposed suspension. So the NCAA has not necessarily gave him sanctions, recruiting-wise, schedule-wise, yada, yada, yada. Michigan and himself came out and said, you know what? We're going to suspend him for week 3 and week 4. Who do they play though? They play Central Michigan and they play Nebraska. Now everybody's talking on Twitter about it. Is it fair? He's getting to pick his 2 games, and it's kind of smaller games. Now the NCAA could impose additional sanctions. They could say, you're out week 1 and 2. The main focus, I think, for Michigan is that week 2 game. It's on the road against Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's a tough team. I'm not going to lie. We got Blanche in the chat asking, are you buying to the Sooner hype? I'm going to say real quick, yes. John Mateer, he's a guy. He threw for a hell of a lot of yards last season. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that quarterback transition enough. Yeah, Jackson Arnold was kind of last season, but Oklahoma's got some pieces, and this is Sharon's alma mater. So it's a little bit of an emotional game. I feel like that's probably why they go in and select the games that they do. G, just talk to me about it. You think that that's right? Do you think that the NCAA could come in and say, not so fast. You out the first and second week 2? Just reflect on this situation for me the best you can as a Michigan fan.
This is real cute by Michigan trying to pick the 2 games he gonna set out for. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The NCAA probably will come in and add an additional game, or they might add 2 games. And so, I don't blame Michigan for trying to get on the forefront of this and trying to say, look, we're going to self-impose ourselves with these 2 games. But if you think about to outsmart the NCAA and get away with this, it's not going to happen. So, I anticipate the NCAA going to come in and probably add another game, 2 games at the most.
Man, it can't be that Oklahoma game, though, G. How you feeling about that? You think that that's going to be a moment where Michigan can plant their flag, or is it going to be one of those sweating moments?
It's going to be hard to say, bro, because the quarterback position, I know Bryce Underwood probably has a great chance to start. But I think Michigan going to have a problem with losing all those offensive linemen they lost. You lost Colston Loveland, all right? On that defense, you lost a ton of production. I mean, you lost
Will Johnson.
You lost Graham, you lost the other D tackle, Kenneth Grant, all right? You lost one of your linebackers. I mean, they lost some big time playmakers on that defense. So they're gonna have a lot of new faces that they gotta plug and play with, especially in week 2. That's gonna be a tough game, and I know that Oklahoma probably hasn't been what we thought it was gonna be since Brent Venables has been there. But I want to say this is year 3 going into, right? Year 3. They kind of starting to understand his coach and what he wants. But we all know the defense on Oklahoma hasn't had any trouble. It's been the offense that's been struggling. And like you just alluded to with the new quarterback transfer, I think they'll be better next year. So that's gonna be a tough game for Michigan, man. I don't know if they get away with a W now. I don't know.
It'll be tough, especially if the NCAA adds another one of them games. I ain't gonna lie. I'm about to hop out of here. I'm gonna read through some of your comments real quick before we end the stream. Got Judah in the chat talking about if they start 0-1, it'll be devastating. Blanche chimes in and says, yeah, they're going to go 8-4 if they start off 0-1. Man,
he's talking about LSU or Michigan?
LSU. He's saying if LSU drops the Clemson opener, what would be, I think, the 5th year in a row.
It'll be a tough game.
I think so, too. Nobody's talking about the ACC champs, Cade Klubnik. He was top 5 in the number 1 pick odds. We didn't get to that. It was Arch, Aller, Nuss. Then it was Sellers. Boom, Cade Klubnik.
And he has a lot of production coming back in that receiver room.
Hell yeah. And then the defensive line, they got 2 first-round caliber D linemen, and I believe they have a first-round caliber corner as well. It's going to be an offensive line battle.
And we all know it's tough to win in Death Valley, the other Death Valley.
It's going to be the battle of the real Death Valleys. If we go into Death Valley and beat them, G, I think they should change their name. I ain't gonna lie. I think we should change the whole stadium name. But
wins, make no mistake about it, LSU has the better team on paper. So nobody gonna hear all them excuses that you're on the road, and nobody gonna hear all that, man. You gotta get it done. You gotta get it done.
Pull that bus over, do some jumping jacks, stretch your legs a little bit, do what you gotta do.
Gotta get it done.
We need to start undefeated. Finally. I have not seen it yet. I done came to LSUG freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year.
Graduated. Now you still ain't got a dub in week 1.
Diploma in hand, G. Never seen it. Never started 1-0. Come on, please. Please. This is all I want. That's it. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. G, appreciate your time. Thank you for coming back. Y'all give my guy a follow on Twitter at G_sports. Subscribe to both channels. We'll be live again on Wednesday. Y'all have a good one.